Hello, my name is Archimedes. Today, I will be talking about buoyancy. My principle states that a body immersed in a fluid experiences an upthrust equal to the weight of the fluid displaced. A body floating freely in still water experiences a downward force acting on it due to gravity. For example, the king told me to determine if his crown was made of pure gold. Now I will dip my body inside the pool. Oh look, the deeper I go, the more the water rises. Eureka! Eureka! I can measure the volume of the crown by seeing how much water it displaces. Now, I can compare the volume of the crown to the volume of the gold that the king gave the goldsmith. Now let's see. Now for the gold. The crown is less dense. It's a bootleg. I better tell the king. Uh-oh.
Hello, my name is Bob, and I'll be talking about how a block floats and how its buoyant force is related to it. Watch that block fall from the sky. That block is floating because of its buoyant force. The buoyant force for a floating object is equivalent to its weight. The water level goes up a bit because the block displaces water. The block floats because it's less dense than the water. Keep in mind that the entire volume of the object is not displaced when it's floating. In this case, the buoyant force is equal to the force exerted by gravity. Now the block will vanish. Now we can talk about the sinking block.
Now that you understand why a floating block floats, I'll explain why a sinking block sinks. Watch that 2-ton block fall from the sky. The buoyant force makes it slow down when it enters the water. That's why it sinks slower than it falls. As you see, it displaced more water than the floating block, because the whole thing is underwater instead of just the bottom half. The block sinks because its weight is greater than the buoyant force. As Archimedes told you earlier, the buoyant force is equal to the amount of water displaced, and in this case, the amount of water displaced is equal to the block's volume. If this block has a volume of 1 cubic meter, that means it displaced 1 cubic meter of water. The block sinks because it is denser than water. Now you understand why a floating block floats and why a sinking block sinks, and you know about Archimedes' principle.